Okay, so we were discussing how education wasn't really on the table for Julie. She was working as a hairdresser when she met her husband. So she found a way to change her life through marriage while also finding love. So that's how Julie successfully resolved the crisis of stage 6 and ultimately changed her life. So during this time was like the 70s, so being a woman during this time was a lot different than now, and they didn't have as many options or possess the same rights in the work environment and home. Women were still majority housewives, and this was still really normal. So, because things were also just more affordable too, so many people didn't need a two-income household. Anyway, so marriage was a good way for Julie to advance her life. And that was one of the driving forces. So, when talking about culture, ethnicity, and religion, Julie grew up to a lower income immigrant family who migrated from Italy. She always kind of wanted more for her life and didn't like her neighborhood in Northeast Philadelphia. Her father owned a convenience store, and her mom couldn't read, write, or speak English. So growing up with that was really difficult. But they lived in an entirely Italian community, so everyone spoke Italian. But her family didn't approve of her dating outside of the Italian culture. Her husband or her partner that she met was Jewish, and after Julie moved out, her parents refused to speak to her. Eventually, she called her parents and confronted them about her relationship because she refused to pick between her family and her husband. So not only did their culture play a role in them being Italian, him being not Italian, but also religion. They were Roman Catholic and he was very Jewish. So there was a lot of different forces at play here. But it never mattered to Julie. It was always a problem for her family. She never minded that he was Jewish. So she grew up in a middle-income Italian neighborhood. Parents couldn't read or speak English. She really wanted something more, kind of a way out of the neighborhood. Julie and her husband had a large age gap. They were around 14 years apart. Despite the age difference, they were still in a loving marriage for over 20 years. And so what contributed to the success of this was, I think, the part of the reason why Julie had such a successful experience in stage 6 was because her and her partner were so in love, and because they had such a strong relationship, they were able to get through all of these challenges. So because Julie had such a successful marriage, their marital bond made taking care of the stepdaughter easy, dealing with the family who disagreed with them easier, and dealing with the ex-wife who didn't want to sign the papers easier. And because they stayed together, and stayed strong through it, they were able to get through it all. And some of the research I did prove that when the quality of marital relationships is loving and strong, healthy parental-child relationships are more likely to occur. So because they had such a strong marriage, she was able to care for her stepdaughter and develop a friendship with his ex-wife and create a new family together. So because their marriage was so supportive, Julie was able to become lifelong friends with his ex-wife, and they're still friends today. So, according to Erikson's theory, Julie possessed a strong identity and personality, so she was able to create boundaries based on self-respect, which allowed her to attract the right person, fall in love, and have a successful marriage with children. Julie loved her husband and helped raise his daughter, who in turn became her own child. She created relationships with his previous wife to expand the family. Studies have shown that helping your marital partner results in greater relationship quality. So because they were so supportive, it built such a better and stronger relationship and marriage for them. So in this stage, Julie cultivated loving, lasting, and enduring relationships, which led to successful relationships with her husband, children, friends, and other members of the family throughout her life. So some additional theories touching on the same developmental period. I use Piaget's theory of cognitive development. According to Piaget, Julie was in the formal operational stage, which is ages 12 and up. So the stage is categorized by an ability to think abstractly about ideas and situations, which also translates to an ability to make future life plans and develop reasoning for hypothetical situations. Julie's ability to analyze her life and her parents' lives, assess her life and community, and seek marriage outside of that environment shows her presence in the formal operational stage of Piaget's theory. Some limitations with Erikson's theory I found in my research is his emphasis on adolescence and placing almost all of his major life changes or transitions occurring during adolescent years. I think as the age of death extends, the lifespan expands and extends, and we need to allow, because people are living longer, developmental stages should also reflect that lifespan extension. So now, as we learned in the video that we watched earlier this week, a lot of events which used to happen during adolescence are now happening during emerging adulthood. So Erikson's theory lacks an account for the period of emerging adulthood, which is an important developmental time of brain maturation, learning about relationships, strengthening friendships, advancements in social skills, and developments in work. Another limitation I found within Erikson's theory is his lack for cultural variations and differences in how people develop. He doesn't really consider different cultures and the way in their processes of development. He suggests a concrete timeline of subsequent events which happen along one's lifespan, which is very specific to Western civilization. He doesn't place much emphasis on cultural variations across the globe in terms of what age people get married, move away from home, raise children, breastfeed, etc. So Erikson's theory places most relevance to Western civilizations, which makes sense because he migrated to the United States in the 1930s, so he is going from a Western civilization perspective. And those are my references. Yeah, and that is all.